Hey everyone, thanks for joining us live. I am Dee Salvador, SEO Program Manager here at Kuno Creative. And what we're going to be talking about today is essentially how to get found first by combining SEO, AEO, and GEO. Basically, how to show up not just in traditional search, but inside all the new AI and answer style results. Today, I'm joined by Millie, SEO manager at Turnpoint Services. And what she does is she works with sites in the home services industry that feel every Google and AI change pretty quickly. So what we'll be doing is I'll be leading the session and Millie will jump in with some real world examples and patterns that she's seeing. The way that we'll function is essentially we'll spend about 15-20 minutes on content, then open it up for live Q&A. So drop any questions that you have in the chat as we go, and we'll circle back at the end. Before we dive into the goodies, Millie, what's a fun and or interesting fact that you would like to tell us about yourself?
All right, that is my favorite opening question, Dee. Thank you so much for asking that. On the professional side, it's been that I have worked in all kinds of work, helping all kinds of businesses with SEO, from e-commerce to working with toys, squishmallows, to enterprise level clients, clients that have thousands and thousands of pages, to what I'm doing now, which is more localized search. And what's awesome about it is that, they were formerly mom and pop kind shops. So when it comes to us implementing SEO strategies and now AEO, GEO strategies, we can see the impact really quickly. So that's on the professional side. And another fun fact on the personal side is that I love cats. I have a lot of cats. I'm not going to say how many, but I'm a kitty person. Sorry to the dog people out there.
Well, you can never have too many.
That's certainly true.
But I am so glad that you're here with me today because your experience specifically in that niche is going to be a really awesome take to understand how things are going over in the home industry side of things.
Yes, and it applies to not just home industries, but many different kinds of industries, like in terms of tactics are going to be different depending on the industry that you're in, whether you're in B2B, B2C, D2C, or in what I'm in, which is more like localized, direct to client, but the foundation is the same.
Perfect. All right. So let's start with how search has changed. So search used to be mostly what we talked and joked about as those 10 blue links. You typed the query on Google, saw a simple list of links, and clicked through to a website to get your answer. Now, before people ever click, they see direct answers, they see AI overviews, they see feature snippets. People also ask sections, map packs, carousel, essentially just a whole wall of content that tries to solve the problem right on the results page. What users are expecting are fast, direct solutions. They don't want to dig through 10 different pages just to find one detail. The bar for clarity is so much higher than it ever was. And a lot of searches don't even end in a click anymore because the result itself answers the question. Google and AI tools are trying to reduce that type of friction. If they can give you the answer on the spot, oh, they definitely will. And at the same time, search isn't a single service now. It's fragmented. There's classic SERP, also known as the search engine results page. You got the answer boxes, you got AI overviews. Now you have these generative chat results. So it's a whole ecosystem of places your brand can show up or disappear. So what we're doing is we're not just optimizing for a ranking position anymore. We're optimizing to be selected as the answer, the citation, or the recommended brand inside these experiences. And that is what the new competitive space is. So Millie, do you feel like marketers and or stakeholders have really caught up with how different all of this is now? Or are a lot of them still stuck in that 10 blue links mindset?
So they have, how they say that a little information can be dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that applies here. So in terms of the AI overviews, in terms of the ChatGPTs, Perplexities, Grok, they know just enough to be able to say, okay, this is changing. What are we doing to change this? And so they are aware because they are also using, in their own lives, in their own personal lives, when they're going to make a purchase or they're finding their favorite restaurants, they're seeing how the SERPs are changing. Now they're wondering, how does this apply to my business? There's definitely a complete and a keen understanding that it's no longer about us appearing in the first 10 links. It's more about, if I'm changing the way that I'm searching for things, I know my customers are going to change the way that they're searching for us. In the local services industry, in the local home services industry, it's about, they're seeing the effects of, maybe they're getting fewer phone calls, right? Maybe they're not booking as many jobs, maybe revenue has dropped, right? So they're looking at the greater conversation and they're saying, could this be because of AI, right?
Mhm.
Could this be because AI? And the answer is definitely yes. A lot of our informational queries are being taken by AI overviews. People, there's a whole zero click reality that we had back then, which was that, the people also ask, overtaking in the featured snippets, overtaking clicks. That continues to be true. So they have a lot of questions about it. And what part of my job has been is to internally educate them on specific strategies and tactics that we're doing to make sure that we are cited. So instead of like, yes, we're still doing traditional SEO, but now we've introduced new metrics to it. And that's what we're letting our stakeholders know. Like, it's not just about the regular conversions. It's not just about calls, book jobs, revenue. Obviously, that's the bottom line. That's the most important thing. And, obviously, engaged sessions, time on site, bounce rate, but also how many times are we cited on the AI overviews? So I semi-frequently get questions from them saying, "Oh, I read this article about this. What does this mean? Why were we cited when I was on the agency side? Because I'm, mostly from the agency side, and now I'm working in-house. Like, there's this article that we were cited and we were mentioned in a loss, right? And we really had to explain what it means, what these metrics mean, and most importantly, what we're doing to solve it. So they definitely know that those 10 blue links don't matter as much as they used to. And it's really our job to educate them on what the new AI landscape looks like.
Exactly. And that's perfect because that is exactly why we have to talk about SEO, AEO, and GEO together instead of treating SEO like it's just meta tags and blog posts. And of course,
Absolutely.
the question everyone has is, okay, well, what is SEO, AEO, and GEO? Well, SEO is search engine optimization. It's the foundation. It's always going to be the foundation. The goal is to help search engines like Google find, understand, and trust your site. That means solid technical basics, content that matches intent, and authority signals like internal links and credible mentions. In practice, that looks like showing up as one of those familiar blue links in the search results. AEO is answer engine optimization. It's about winning direct answers like featured snippets, people also ask, or even those Google AI overview. The real test here is if someone asks this question, is my content structured so the system can grab a short, clear answer and feel good showing it right in the results? When AEO works, you're the box at the top that answers the question before anyone scrolls. And then we have GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization. It's about being chosen when AI tools build summaries and recommendations. You create a consistent topical footprint across your website and the wider web so that, when a model generates an answer, you're one of the brands that model trusts and mentions in tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, or Copilot. So think of SEO, AEO, and GEO as three valves on the same system. SEO gives you a healthy, crawlable, authoritative site. AEO shapes that into clear questions and answers that can win snippets and AI overviews. And then GEO builds on top and helps generative tools decide, out of everything on the web, is this brand worth mentioning? If you only do SEO and ignore AEO and GEO, you miss where attention is going. If you skip SEO and only chase AI results, you're building on quicksand. The teams that win treat these as layers that work together, not competing strategies. So, Millie, when you talk with marketers, stakeholders, are they talking about answer results and AI results yet? Or, are some of them just reacting to traffic drops without really naming what's changed?
The second, definitely that. Our visibility has gone down, our engaged sessions has gone down, maybe keyword trackings, like previous SEO metrics maybe are being negatively affected. But then that's why we're introducing the new um, geo metrics like AI visibility, how many times are you cited, um, just different kinds of metrics. So let's say that you have a drop in organic traffic, but your branded search remains stable and your conversions are actually increasing, then that means that at least for the AEO results or the generative engine results, you're still stable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Explaining that difference to them, the way that I have done it in terms of explaining what that means is in a greater, more holistic pictures. And I refer to these as digital ecosystems. So I actually still use the term SEO, but instead of saying search engine optimization, I say search everywhere optimization. And it includes generative AI, it includes the answer engine optimizations. It's just about learning where, like building that digital ecosystem. Where are our customers searching? Are they using like social media to find answers? And how do we bring them into our website if that's our model? So I think to answer your question, I don't really like go into the details of the difference between all of them. I just tell them, listen, a lot of our informational queries are being overtaken. Like, let's say a page that was doing really well last year, that it got a bunch of clicks and it got a lot of impressions. It's not doing so well anymore. But maybe it didn't bring that much conversions. Whereas another page, like a service page, that conversion has actually improved. And that's because we've implemented AEO and GEO tactics to help the AI bots parse through that data a little bit better. Honestly, with the terminology, and I think that because I'm in it, right, every day, like I manage 54 brands in total, and just various SEO strategists, like really nailing down the terminology can be a little bit confusing, and that's why I concentrate on the digital ecosystem. Who are our customers? Where are they searching us? How can we find them in that user journey? And often this falls outside of SEO. But in terms of what I'm looking at the rankings, I'm looking at how many times we're cited, the AI visibility, things like that, those new metrics, and that's how we're explaining it to them, not so much like the terminology itself. They still consider it kind of like SEO.
Exactly. And I like that acronym as well, search everywhere optimization, because it's about optimizing for everything and not getting that tunnel vision, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And now I want to use this pyramid that we have here to show how AEO and GEO change traditional SEO in three different ways. At the bottom is traditional SEO. That's all the fundamentals. You got content, you got technical health, and you got links. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still the foundation everything else sits on. If this layer is weak, the layers above it can't do much. Everything is essentially going to crumble. So again, without that solid foundation of SEO, you don't really have anything. In the middle layer is AEO. This is shift number one. We moved from chasing single keywords to answering full questions and tasks. Answer engines want to solve a problem, not just match a phrase. If your content doesn't clearly answer that problem, it's easy for them to just skip you. And that top layer that we have there is GEO. That's shift number 2. Systems are no longer looking at one page in isolation. They look at entities and brands and ask, is this site consistently relevant and trustworthy on this topic across many URLs on their website and across the World Wide Web? That's an entity view, not a page view. Here, let's think of the double EAT or the EAT framework when producing content. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Taken together, AEO and GEO give us shift number 3. Success isn't only clicks to your website anymore. It's about being cited. It's about being mentioned. It's about being summarized inside the result that has real value for awareness and trust, even if that user doesn't click right away. So the way to use this pyramid is pretty simple. Traditional SEO at the bottom is always going to matter. AEO and GEO add new layers and new services where you can win attention. The goal isn't to pick one layer. The goal is to design for all 3 so you have more chances to show up wherever users are now seeing answers. So I do want to talk about some practical ways in terms of how can we format our content so it works better for AEO and GEO. And what this cheat sheet covers are those main levers that we at Kuno Creative have seen really awesome success. So headers. Headers are your structure. Use the H1 for your primary keyword or main topic. Then use H2s and H3s for long tail questions and supporting subtopics. That helps answer engines see where the question and the answer lives. Tables, they're great for pricing, they're great for futures, and they're great for comparisons because the relationships are clear. Snippets and AI tools can pull that data cleanly. Bolding. So bolding says if you skim nothing else, read this. It helps users and also tells machines which line and key phrases most likely answers the question. We got lists. So lists turn ideas into simple steps or points. You can use bullet points for tips, numbered lists for processes. A lot of these 5 steps to do X snippets probably most and likely come from straight, clean lists on the actual website. Summaries are short 3 to 5 sentence intros at the top of a page or at the top of every section. Think of them as a pre-written TLDR, too long, don't read. Give search and AI a clean summary and you make it easier for them to reuse your explanation. FAQs match the exact phrasing people search for. Each Q&A is a ready-made unit for people also ask featured snippets and AI overviews. Schema is Google's preferred language for labeling content. FAQ schema markup, organization schema markup, product schema markup, article schema markup. So many of these markups all remove guesswork and make your content easier to use and answer in generative results. So everything here in this cheat sheet is about clarity. The cleaner your structure, the less machines have to guess, and the more likely you are to be chosen as the answer. So Millie, if a marketer or stakeholder is overwhelmed and they specifically just ask you for one formatting change that would have the biggest impact, what do you usually recommend?
I would say structure data, schema markup as the very first thing. I would say honestly, like optimizing your content first, right? Those pages that are getting tons of impressions, maybe they're not getting as many clicks, but you know that they're a part of your core business. So let's say more than anything, service pages as an example, or on the lead gen side, product pages, things are on the e-commerce side, product pages, things like that. Just make sure that it's, the content itself is as good as it possibly can be. And Google works a lot with this knowledge graph and especially like building entities. So after you implement, what you just mentioned, which I completely agree with, just make sure that the Google bot and the ChatGPT bots, the other types of bots can parse through your data properly. I would say that schema is the one that I would make sure that that's built out, and then you can move on to helping with like entity, which is a little bit, I would say entity is a little bit more advanced, and that's
Mhm.
something that I would encourage others to look at once they've done kind of like this basic foundational SEO, like you showed in your pyramid. Um, but yeah, schema.
Absolutely. Schema is very important because, again, Google's preferred language, code in the backend that essentially is outlining all of that content and feeding that directly into what we want that page to essentially convey. Awesome. All
Exactly.
right. So, we got about 10 minutes here. So let's go ahead and land the plane and open it up for questions. Big picture, SEO, AEO, and GEO aren't three separate worlds. They're never going to be. They all build on the same foundation of clear, useful, and technically sound content. AEO is about making you the obvious, reliable answer when search or AI wants to respond directly to a question. GEO is about positioning your brand as a trusted source that generative systems keep pulling into their summaries and recommendations. The brands that win are the ones that stay human focused in their content while making it straightforward for machines to understand and reuse it. So let's move on to the Q&A. So any questions that you do have, let's go ahead and answer them. So we got one question here that says, where should marketing teams invest first if they feel behind? So my answer to that is I'd start with the foundation. Make the site fast, make it crawlable, and easy to understand for both humans and machines. Then map your core offers and lead gen to specific paths to the questions your buyers are actually asking. When SEO, AEO, and GEO are aligned to those questions, every fix you make has a clearer path to the pipeline. So it's really setting that foundation of SEO, ensuring that your core pillar, product, most important pages that you want people to convert on speak to what your company does.
I agree. And to that, I would also add that tracking. So, one interesting fact that I learned rather recently is that the top brands, top sites that were ranking in 2010 are sites that intentionally and thoughtfully started optimizing for the search engines. And these are the sites that continue to rank in the top, like top 10 links. I'm not sure, like in terms of AIO, I didn't, I'm not sure about that, but that would be interesting to read. But at least in terms of like general top, like blue links, that's what's happening now. You have the opportunity to get ahead of your competitors for ranking in the generative search engines. So I would also invest in things like platforms like SEMrush Enterprise. They have a really terrific and something that we're currently looking into platform that helps you track your mentions, certain prompts, like you said, D. We're not just tracking keywords, but we're also tracking keyword phrases, especially things that are conversational. I would say like investing in the right platforms, though they are pricey, and you have to look at the bottom line and see what your budget is. But if you can, that's something, if you can get in now and get ahead of your competition, it's going to pay off in dividends in years to come. Nick, now is the time. And it's also really important to create a baseline now of data, right? Like if you start tracking today your top 10 queries, your top 10 prompts, your top 10 phrases, and you see, okay, this is how I'm doing this month, take a screenshot of it, month one, month two, month three. By month four, and let's say that you start in December, by mid Q1 2026, you're going to have a really good baseline of of how your performance is going, right? And there's specific tactics to help rank for these AIOs. But like you said, Denise, you can't even start with any of that until you have your foundational SEO, your technical crawl, things like that.
Awesome. And then there were a couple of other questions that we got as well. Austin had mentioned, what are some of the main differences we should think about when optimizing for non-local websites versus local websites? So the main difference is what the search engines care about. So for non-local websites, the engine wants to know if you're an authority on the topic. So, let's focus on technical health. Let's focus on strong content and building trust across your whole site. For local websites, proximity becomes a huge ranking factor. Google needs to know who you are, where you are, and whether people in that service that you're servicing trust you. That means optimizing your Google business profile, keeping your business info consistent, the NAP, earning reviews, responding to those reviews, and creating location-specific contents. So non-local SEO is about topical authority. Local SEO is about real-world business presence. So both still benefit from AEO and GEO and the traditional SEO, but the levers you pull can be a little bit different. Do have a question from Sean as well is where does someone start if there is little to no content on the website? SEO content first. So if a site has little to no content, you start with SEO basics and content at the same time. You need the technical foundation so Google can crawl and understand the site, but you also need real content or the engine has nothing to evaluate. The easiest path is to pick one core topic the business should own and build a small set of strong pages around it. So think of like pillar cluster, hub and spoke. You got the main page, and then you got a few supporting pages and a simple FAQ on each of those. That gives you structure, that gives you internal links and something for AEO and GEO to work with. You don't need a huge library from the start. You really don't. You just need one clean, well-built topic area that proves what you're about. We do have a question from Colin as well is, what's the easiest way to explain the benefits of appearing in snippets, citations, and mentions when that person never lands on your site? So that is a really awesome question, and let's see how to approach that. Showing up in snippets, citations, and AI mentions still helps you even if the person never clicks. You get visibility at the exact moment someone is searching for your topic. They see your brand, your explanation, your expertise. That builds familiarity and trust. And when they do need to choose a provider or look up more information later, they're more likely to search for you by name or click you over someone they may maybe have never seen. So in short, you're winning attention and credibility early. So that often turns into branded searches, higher conversion rates, hopefully, and stronger long-term demand, even if the first interaction didn't involve a click. And we do have 2 minutes left. So Millie, what would you like to add?
Well, to that, I would say it also depends on the query. So right now, AI overviews, it's more informational. But when it comes to like ChatGPT, things like that, people are asking, like they're eventually going to ask, like, what, in my industry, like who are the best plumbers in my area, right? Um, and then at that point, those citations are going to matter. Um, how many times you're cited in these AI overviews is going to matter. So maybe it doesn't give you like it gives you that zero click in the beginning, but when it comes to like actionable bottom of funnel conversions, that's where it's gonna really pay off.
Love that. Awesome. Well, we're just about time here. So Millie and I would love to thank every one of you for spending part of your day with us for Kuno Creative's LinkedIn Live. So there are more sessions coming, so stay tuned and we'll see you next time.